Joe Sestak is a former member of Congress, a former admiral. Joe Sestak is running for the Democratic nomination so he can face off against U.S. Senator and Republican Pat Toomey. Joe Sestak is very busy in Harrisburg. I'll let him tell us what he's doing down there, but I am interested in what Joe Sestak's perspective is on Pat Toomey, on Donald Trump, on everything we've been discussing so far. Joe Sestak, thanks so much for the call.
Steve, it's good to be back with you.
It sounds like it was wild in New York today, Joe.
I haven't heard all the details. I've been sitting here on the Capitol steps, but, Donald Trump raising money to help someone. How can anyone even take that money? Here's someone who has absolutely made outrageous statements that are bigoted, prejudicial, dangerous. And I think it's inexcusable for the way the conduct was done by, as you just reported, his security forces. I think the best thing that Pat Toomey can do is absolutely condemn that this should be an individual who is ready to assume commander-in-chief responsibilities.
And rather than condemn, Pat Toomey just hid. He stayed away from the luncheon, and he was expected to be there. Now people are asking Pat Toomey to do just what you're asking him to do, to condemn Donald Trump, to condemn the hate-mongering, and to refuse to take one penny of what some people are calling blood money that will be raised as a result of Donald Trump's appearance at that fundraiser today. Some of that money earmarked for Pat Toomey. So I would imagine you'd agree that Toomey should not take one red cent.
I have to agree with that. But you know what? He may say that. But if you remember during the government shutdown that he voted for twice, in that first government shutdown, he said, I wasn't not going to take any of my salary. But you go back, that salary did go to him. So I imagine there's another fungible way that you're going to find that even what he says isn't going to happen. And that somehow they'll find a way to get that money to him in a fundraiser. It's sort of like where he said, I'm for veterans, and here in Pennsylvania, and goes down and votes against the vets every single time.
And
I still would like to see him condemn it.
Absolutely. A great irony exists here because as we're discussing, and as a lot of people are discussing, whether Pat Toomey will continue to take, no matter what the source, you're actually in a position right now where you're giving. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, Joe Sestak.
I'm sitting on a bunch of pallets here, empty now. We brought a load of pallets filled with food, blankets, filled with school book goods.
Tell people where you are. Tell people where you are.
I'm on the steps of Capitol of Harrisburg because behind me, as I look at it, there's no state legislators there. Matter of fact, probably almost all of them are up there in New York City enjoying what's called the Pennsylvania Society, Waldorf Astoria this weekend. It's a big party up there where all those in the establishment come together. I came here because there's no state budget. And what actually happens is $2 billion alone in federal money that's supposed to go to pre-K kids is holed up and can't get through the state capitol. And they're up there in New York City, not locked in a room getting things done for the people. So we had over 100 people line up here, the poor, those who are transitionally homeless, domestic shelters where women can't get transitional housing, line up getting stuff from us today.
So I take it you're not wearing a tuxedo, Joe?
No, I'm in my military flight jacket, sitting here in jeans and the book shoes I walked across the state on. Look, I know I'm running against the establishment, but the establishment's up there are people who want to be in the establishment in Pennsylvania society today for as elected officials, not those who go up there and aren't in office, but those who are supposed to, like a Marine does, out in the field, that if you're the officer, no matter what, you eat last and you're the last to leave the field. And you know what? That's the real sad part about those elected or those who want to be elected officials up there. Even the federal government today kicked down the road for 5 days a federal budget that the government's going to shut down if they don't work on it. And then the president on Sunday night in Oval Office asked them, we need an authorization of war for you guys to work on. And they just left town for the Pennsylvania Society.
As you distributed food today and clothing and talked with people who may or may not have known who you are, what were people telling you, Joe?
I think I can tell you one story that breaks my heart. Matter of fact, she's still over there waiting for someone to drive her home, which she'll probably end up doing with the stuff she got. She came over, and we chatted, and afterwards I went over to her. I gave her my card, and I said, this is my personal email. This is my personal telephone number. Lord willing, I'm a senator. Contact me if there's something I can do. She looked at me and she said, all I want is a Christmas tree. All I want, Steve, she said, is a Christmas tree.
I think it shows you exactly what real people deal with. I think it shows you that real people's requests are not for another order of caviar or a better quality sport coat or high quality vehicle. All she wants is a Christmas tree.
That's it. You know, she's standing over there by the curb waiting, and we'll probably be the ones that give her a ride, as I said. She's got some food. She's got a small kid, so she's got some school supplies, and including, she was so proud. She got one of the, blanket covers, the heavy ones, and it's pretty cool. Matter of fact, a friend, someone else who I did an event here for, Loretta. Hey, Loretta! Just pulled up to give her a ride. I see what she was waiting for now. So she doesn't have her own transportation.
Well, and that message of people helping each other, whether it be Loretta helping her friend, whether it be any of us trying to help people in need, is reflected in that distorted prism of that Pennsylvania society gathering, where the very, very wealthy and the very, very powerful do mingle and talk with each other about how very often they can get what's best for them, not what's best for others. And I think that the irony is very stark, and I think it's important that you're on the steps of the state capitol in Harrisburg, where shortly the lights will dim, and we know that there's nobody home, and we know that we're in the 6th month without a budget, as social services and libraries and shelters are starting to worry about closing down, laying off people, trying to understand how they can function, and it's just not a good place to be. So where's your next move, Joe? Where you go from here?
I'm headed back to Delaware County. And then tomorrow I'll do an event over in Montco, and then Montgomery County, and head over to Pittsburgh on Monday. I'll go to a number of churches. I always love to go to them, particularly a number of African American churches on the week on Sundays. The places that sometimes you walk in, it's about as big as a small bookstore, and on Sunday mornings. But you bring something else up, Steve. You bring up the issue that, people are up there today doing fundraisers for themselves, politicians, Democrat and Republican, and so they can stay in a job. And the one thing I always remembered, Steve, is accountability. The captain of a ship is relieved for cause. Despite nice words or good intentions, if the ship goes aground, the crew comes to harm. People are coming to harm right now in Pennsylvania. They're hurt, and why is anyone up there not being relieved for cause? And this is why I'm speaking to both parties. It's not about parties. It's certainly not about partying in Gotham City. It isn't about type. It's about people. I think we have to get back to that. And I think more than anything, that's why people have to be willing to stand up the establishment of their own parties and say this isn't working, or else false prophets like a Donald Trump begins to fill the air. And that's my real concern.